We'd like to extend a heartfelt thank you to our very first podcast sponsor, Ridge Wallets. Ridge Wallets makes minimalist metal wallets that don't take up that much more space in your pocket than a stack of credit cards themselves.
That's true, and they are sold in aluminium, carbon fiber, and titanium options. In the interest of transparency for all of the sponsorships, they sent us 3 sample products over for all 3 of us to check out.
If you want to support the podcast, please go to richwallet.com/DAS. They're offering 10% off your first order with worldwide shipping. Please go to richwallet/DAS to support the podcast. We'll love you. We'll give you a kiss.
Thank you.
Two, one, sing. Okay,
Hello, and welcome to the Dad and Sons podcast. Oh, you didn't want me to jump right in, George?
Oh no, it's fine. You can jump right into my stuff anytime.
Yo, whoa, hey now. I'm not in Georgia anymore. Why didn't you tell me this when I was in Georgia?
It sounds funny when you said, I'm not in George.
But you know the struggle, the long distance relationship just makes the little moments we have together that much sweeter.
And long distance relationships suck. I'm just letting you know right now. Oh no.
I can attest.
No, yeah, okay. There we go.
I have yet to feel such love across such great distances.
Yeah, that's a no for me. A strong no. Waiting all week to see your lady friend or guy friend?
Well, 2 weeks, man. 2 weeks because of jobs.
Oh.
Yeah. It's hard.
Oh.
It's hard.
Oh no. I know how that feels.
Do we have a long distance relationship with you, the listener?
I don't know.
Is that our arrangement?
Segues are real.
I feel like I'm pretty close with our YouTube community.
Oh. Okay.
Those guys know. Those guys know.
How can you be close and at a long distance at the same time?
Now, I mean, do you know their real names?
Are they even real people? They might be bots.
Do you know their favorite color? Their favorite?
I'm gonna guess orange.
Toppings on a pizza.
I mean, everyone's favorite pizza is pepperoni.
All right. Wait. What's on that pepperoni?
Double cheese pepperoni.
Are there pineapple on that pepperoni?
I don't know which way is this gonna go. If I say yeah,
oh great,
are you gonna be angry? Or if I say no, are you gonna be angry?
Listen, don't try to satisfy my needs.
Are you just talking about me? Okay, if we're doing this right now, or this is going to cause the greatest argument ever on Dad and Sons, I'm okay with pineapple on pizza.
Good.
Yeah.
Pineapple's nice, yo. It tastes nice. It's, pizza's great.
You're a good person. You're a good. Nice little...
The whole pineapple on pizza debate, I don't know why people on the internet get so worked up and mad about it. It's one of those like weird things where people get incendiarily angry.
It's like everyone's fucking grandmother's Italian or something. Like, come on, like you're offending their critical culture.
Oh, I'm sorry that you don't have a very, very basic taste bud receptacle for combining sweet plus savory and can't enjoy the incredibly common sense delight that is pineapple on pizza.
Do you not like sweet and sour chicken as well? Come on.
It's funny because I went to a bar a couple days ago, a whiskey bar, and the bartender was like an older gentleman. And he just loved whiskey. He knew how it was made.
That's what I thought he was going to say.
Pineapples.
And I was like, the girl I was with, like, she loves whiskey, but she'll have it like straight or whatever. Like, and I'm like, no, I like the fruity stuff. Like I like it to taste good. And he was like, well, I don't like mixing other things into whiskey. Like, I think whiskey should be pure. I don't like this modern stuff. If you all these people adding too much stuff into it, like, that's the square stuff. And I was like, whoa. I was like, okay. He's like, I'm like, oh man, do you look at me? Yeah. I'm kind of probably what you're talking about. But yeah, he was
really.
Yeah,
the racial purity of the whiskey is something we're talking about now.
No, more like hipster vibe. Like he doesn't want any of that new stuff. You know, old school whiskey guy. And he was cool. He was mad cool. He got me a sidecar, which was better than the old fashioned and all the other stuff that I tried. This stuff is just too strong for me. I'm a little baby. I'm a little baba.
Yeah, you gotta you want it to like kind of slap you a bit to wake you up.
Yeah,
it's like drinking coffee black. It reminds you you're doing something poisonous and destructive to your body. So you just sip it a little bit at a time and appreciate the the sensations of existence.
Yeah, it's the same thing what she said. Wait, that wasn't meant to be a joke. That's literally what she said. Wow, okay. Well, the video games, right? Guys,
yeah.
I'm going to be the host of the video games. What have you been playing? George, not Liam. We're not starting with Liam this time. Because Liam will talk about Pokemon Go for 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's gonna be like the new game with Liam. It's gonna be stuff that's popular right now. That's good for the SEO. I'm gonna be like a year behind time. So I finally got around and almost actually completed Season 1 of Castlevania on Netflix. I didn't make it through episode 4. Been doing like an episode a night for a couple nights past week, and I'm actually
George living up to his reputation.
I guess, but hey, I gave it a good stop, and I'm making my way there. It's pretty easy making my way there. So I'm first thought though is that I was actually really surprised at how let down you guys were by how much talking
George,
there is in season 2.
Don't.
I think that kind of sort of rejiggered my expectations. There's a lot of that in season 1. Not like I doubt it's as excessive as you guys.
The comments last week, I am amazed at like how many comments.
Okay.
People were okay with all that talking. Now, talking is fine as long as it has substance. And I had a good old argument with someone about this in the YouTube comments about this. There is no substance to the conversations that happen. Hector and Isaac are two brand new characters who both have the same motivation for hating humans. They just hate humans because they were magical human users who could do shit that no one else liked. So they fucking just hate humans.
Yeah. I think Isaac had more reason to hate humans than Hector.
Yeah,
Hector was
agreed.
just like a child, and he does get called a child often.
Hector was like, I just like making dogs.
You know, some people process things differently, and he was just a weak boy. Just a weak little boy.
But like, I just don't get where anyone thought there was any substance to do with, which is the main overarching part of the story, Alucard and Dracula. Like, where the fuck are you pulling out that storyline out of your ass? Like, where? Where does anything happen that explains or does anything to flesh out the emotional ending of that in that series? There isn't.
I mean, I can't comment on like how they pull these threads out of their asses, but it seems like even for season 1, the arc isn't about Alucard invading Dracula's castle. I mean, I'm still kind of waiting for a tease of that, but the plot is around like this corruption scandal involving a church outside of town, and it's making me realize that like a good
nothing happens with the church in season 2.
Oh, they just forget about it because it's. Seems like a big deal right now.
The guy's dead. The guy is dead. He's dead. The vicar guy
dies.
or whatever, the like Pope's speaker, whatever he is, whatever. He's dead.
Don't try to kill Alucard, kids. He'll kill you back.
As soon as he's dead, like that, the whole church scandal stuff just kind of ends. Apart from there's a flashback
that's
to
3 or 4 episodes.
Okay, all right. I'm like almost done. Like I'm on the last episode of this, which is kind of like
So you've watched the good episode.
Yeah, and and the good. See, I feel like for instance, like the problem I see is the development for the 3 characters. There's not enough time spent on Alucard and what was it? Not Sophie.
Selfie.
Cypher. Yeah, Cypher and Belmont. Like, there's not enough spent on them. So the end where, I guess, slight spoilers, where like kind of they have this impactful line. Alucard has this impactful lines like "I'm together." Like it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah,
it just kind of just goes in your ear and it's like, oh, and it comes right out the other side. Yeah, and because they were so busy with the Game of Thrones or Game of Throats, you want to say Game of Throats, little angle here, and it was interesting, but not enough to carry the whole season.
But it, like you say the Game of Thrones bit, right? But it's literally just Godbrand and what's her name, Camilla, talking. The other like 6 vampires who are in there, and I don't know how people keep trying to convince me otherwise. There's 6 vampires in there. Don't say a word. They never talk. So it's like
except for the beginning.
So you have Camilla like scheming and planning behind Dracula's back, but like she only ever talks to the 2 humans and 1 other vampire. Like, her mission isn't really exactly difficult if none of the other vampires are ever involved, and it's like she just basically doesn't even have to speak to them to convince them to do shit. It just wows me that people think those like 6 characters who just stand around in the hall looking as like background extras are like important to the story
they're
in any
doing
way.
Kind of the Star Wars prequel thing where they just stand and talk and
they don't even talk. There's just stills of you watching them. Action. Like they fight pretty cool. Like the like like sort of Indian dressed Far East Asian looking one fights really cool and stuff.
What bothered me is that she said she was going to talk to the court.
Yeah,
and she never did. And they just
like every time Dracula comes down the stairs, everyone's in the same spot. As always, it's like a school. Like Dracula just makes they can't leave that room, and then every time he comes down,
everything is a little bit inconsistent, and that's the word for it. It's the whole thing is inconsistent. Like there's some times where it's like really good, you know, like but then you see that they're stretching, the animes are stretching the fight out just a little bit. There's a little bit of pausing, and it just doesn't feel right. Like they do something real cool, and then all of a sudden, he's like waiting.
Season 1 had a few of those moments, like Alucard's fighting style. Or wait, no, this is a Belmont we're following. The like.
Travis.
Oh my God, I've been saying Alucard. Anyways, the fighting poses that you see behind Trevor and the monsters like match up with the games in an interesting way, but it's still. Out of these 20-minute episodes, like 20 minutes of stiff anime talking, and then 5 minutes of stiff anime fighting, and it's still neat. It's still fine. It's still like
the animation in season 1 was a lot better than season 2.
Really,
I'm pretty sure. Maybe I didn't realize it. Maybe I didn't realize it. But I feel like season 1 fights were pretty solid.
They're solid.
I rewatched season 1 maybe a week before season 2 came out because it's a lot shorter and a lot more digestible to get excited for season 2, and it was definitely noticeably different. Like they were like, okay, let's pull the production budget into season 1 and make sure this thing gets greenlit, and then we'll just try to
milk it
as many of these as we can.
And yeah, I'm wondering if expectations might have gotten inflated at some point, because like.
And it's
fine.
It is weird.
I'm having fun. I'm not blown away.
I mean,
though.
It is fine. It's more disappointing than anything. Like, that's what people, I think, don't understand about my feelings about it, is it's more disappointing than anything. You spend a lot of time with Trevor in the first season. You get to know his feelings about being a vampire hunter and, like, his being a Belmont and all this kind of stuff that's really good, which makes the emotional impact of him, like, trying to help the speakers and Cypher and the fight, and then when all the like Hellions and stuff come back, he rises up and starts fighting, even though he obviously doesn't particularly want to. And then the payoff of season 1 is the last episode, the last 2 episodes, you have Alucard appear and surprise everyone, and you're like, fuck yeah, it's Alucard, one of the best Castlevania characters of all time. And you move to season 2 and it's just like, well, Alucard doesn't get enough time. There's no emotional or any build up to Alucard and Dracula's relationship whatsoever, not even flashbacks.
Yeah. If I were to do season 2, it would definitely be more about the 3 and Dracula.
Yeah.
Like that build up there to the end. I don't care about some human work.
They spent so much time with those 2 humans.
Like they could have done that just on the side, and it'll be an interesting mystery on the side, not the main juice, not the main course.
I'd be interested to see like a graph of how much screen time is dedicated to the 3 compared to the 2 humans.
And the 3 for the most part was very interesting to watch. Like there was like a kind of like the writing was sometimes really human, and Belmont's like honesty and everything. It was good. It was good.
They definitely relied a little too much on the he's a vampire, he's a human, can they get on? Oh, it's a sitcom made from heaven.
In the beginning, it was funny, and then near the library, it started to get real old.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, Trevor and Cypher are in love or something, and then...
Whoa.
They're not in love.
I don't know. The ending was a bit like... Oh, ho, ho.
Got kind of an ocelot thing going on.
It was a bit too full on.
Because, like, with Ocelot, it's, like, heavily implied.
And it's weird, because I feel like the only person who gets, like, a good arc is actually Dracula. But his... And I don't want to spoil it for George, but, like, his ending is with the wrong character, I think, because there is no emotional payoff whatsoever. Like, it's all centered around his wife. And yes, Alucard is his son, but there is no flashbacks, and there's no scenes in the whole series where Alucard and Dracula are in the same room talking prior to them going to Castlevania.
Yeah, that's a sin, I would say. It's really, really bad that they didn't do that. It's almost unforgivable at that point, because it means nothing. What's the motivation?
Exactly.
What's the motivation behind it? No, that's not the way you make shows.
And like, if Dracula's meant to be like this, beast of a guy like that, there's like one scene that George hasn't got to yet, where it like is a flashback to when Dracula was kind of in his heyday, and was like was proper fond of killing people and did it in like super inventive ways and shit. And then, like, it's like, I was once like this, let me describe you a time. And, like, you have all this... But
he didn't describe his travels, either. He didn't describe the travels.
Yeah, and it's not, you're like, oh, yeah, okay, that means Dracula's probably gonna, like, come back and do some of this crazy shit. But he never does. And, like, he has this, like, vampire fucking around in his court, which is literally, like, 6 people. There's no way she'd get away with it. Just, like, fucking around with, like, his 2 most loyal humans. And he doesn't do anything about it. And
the guy is strong as hell.
It's so
The guy
weird.
is strong as hell. Wow. Yeah.
And, like, George, have you got to the bit with Godbrand and Isaac?
Godbrand is not ringing a bell.
The Viking vampire.
Oh, no, I don't think so. That's not ringing a bell. Does he show up before season 1, episode 4?
George, plug your ears for a second, George.
I'm
going to ask Matt about
putting
something.
my headphones down.
Everyone else who's not watched it.
What about the listeners? Okay.
Wait. I just thought of something. If you're about to do a spoiler alert and people are going to be looking at the timestamps anyway, maybe now might be a good time for an ad read?
Yeah, everyone, you've got like a 5-second warning. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Matt, when Godbrand dies, they literally never say anything again. Like, no one, he like throws him off the tower.
Godbrand? Where's Godbrand?
No.
Done.
No one says anything. Literally nobody says anything. It's so strange. He just Isaac throws him off the tower into the wind. Okay, George, you can come back now. Okay, we're done. Bingo.
And he's been in so many scenes.
I know, he's like literally the third main character of the show.
He had his own scene with Dracula. Like he had way too much screen time for that.
Okay, bingo.
Okay, we probably made some people really either hate the show or hate us.
No, they hate us. Like, if the comments are anything to go by about Castlevania last week, it's the same as the Blizzard Squad. They defend that shit until they die.
Hey, you know, I guess what I was saying, like, if you enjoy it, you enjoy it.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if
totally
you
fine.
liked it, I'm happy for you because you got enjoyment out of something I wanted to enjoy. You know? I enjoyed Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild. You and George, different, right?
It was fine.
Yeah, I think that's what Castlevania Season 2 is. It's just fine. It's not bad. It's disappointing. It's that old adage about parents. It's like, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
George.
Is George even going to come back?
I heard my name echoing over the hills in the distance.
Yeah, you're good now.
Yay! I mean,
he probably didn't even go away. He doesn't care about the spoilers.
I had my
He's
little
probably
like
not gonna watch
earbud
it.
hovered around so I couldn't hear the minutiae, but if there was a long vowel noise like a "George," I knew I'd be able to hear it.
Well, I did say bingo, George, come back, but you didn't.
Oh, well.
But yeah.
Anyways, yeah, I don't know. It's
Let's
like
end that.
it's good. It's fine. I
want you to finish watching it first before you make decisions.
Okay, on the way there though, how do we think about the qualifier of whether or not it's the best video game adaptation so far?
Well, I mean, that's not a hard thing to fucking go by, but I would say it probably is. Season 1 definitely is.
Matt, what do you think?
What was
Matt, what is the best video game adaptation into television or movie media?
Super Mario Brothers.
I was about to say
Street Fighter in black and white.
that Castlevania, Netflix Castlevania seems like the most on brand and respectful and like seriously produced adaptation I've seen so far, but it does not stand up to the like dumb, stupid fun of the bullshit people were making in the 90s. That is like, it was awful to watch during the 90s and during the turn of the millennium, but have since aged into incredibly fun bad movie night movies. I don't know if Castlevania, if like 20 years from now, people are going to be loading up the Castlevania Netflix adaptation with their eyes widened at each other, like giggling, being like, "Oh, dude, you gotta watch the Castlevania Netflix adaptation." and that's like, that's so fun to me. I have so much fun with bad adaptation.
Yeah, but Castlevania is not bad though. Castlevania is like an adaptation that needs to be taken seriously because it's good for the most part. Like season 1 is real good alone. Whether it's attached to a property anyway. It's intriguing to watch as an animated cartoon.
And as an adaptation. It's kind of like cool seeing them think about how to present Castlevania as like an actual dark, serious matter. Which is cute.
I mean, it's good because Castlevania is fucking great. I love Castlevania a lot, so I'm happy to see. I want them to do season 3. I mean, they've had it renewed, and you know we're getting Devil May Cry now by the same people.
Yeah, because the jabronis in Hollywood aren't gonna fuck it up.
Everyone thought it was gonna be Zelda, but it turns out that it's Devil May Cry.
Did you guys hear that quote from the producer who actually used the word jabronis to describe what they didn't want to happen to the Devil May Cry license?
Wow.
What?
Jabronis. I'm gonna Google it and I'm gonna get a direct quote.
Do you know what jabronis are, Liam?
I know what The Rock used to say.
Oh, okay. Oh, interesting. So in the UK, was wrestling big? WWE? SmackDown?
Yeah. I mean, WWF was huge. Like, I feel like WWE was a changing point in its popularity. It's been pretty consistent since then, but I feel like at the peak when it was like Triple H,
The Rock,
Stone Cold Steve
everything,
Austin,
yeah.
and The Rock, and it was
Well,
WWE.
you knew all the names.
Yeah. I used to stay up at 4 a.m. and watch fucking WrestleMania. Yeah.
Talking with IGN, Adi Shankar also dropped a few entirely excellent and choice quotes about the project, making sure to have a proper crack at the complacency of Hollywood in the process. Quote, I acquired these Devil May Cry rights myself so that the jabronis in Hollywood don't fuck this one up too. What a hero.
He fucked up season 2.
Oh my god.
Well, at least they made season 1 and got their attention with it.
They proved they can do stuff.
Yeah. I'd rather have like a good season 1 of another Devil May Cry anime than and a mediocre season 2 than I guess something
than a
really
live action Death Note version for Netflix.
really embarrassing and bad. On that same note, as someone who's not much of a Death Note fan, Netflix Death Note was a great time. A great giggle, get drunk, laugh at the bad movie.
Which means it's garbage.
Yes.
Which means it's garbage.
Oh man, I love rolling in it. I love smelling in it.
I don't want to go down this hole. This is just depressing.
Then let's go to the next game.
Did we even talk about a game yet? We talked about a TV show.
It was an adaptation of a video game.
It's still a video game topic.
I mean, do you count watching Lord of the Rings as reading a book?
No, the book is like spends 6 pages describing a tree. The movie can at least like move on.
God damn, I love those movies.
Did you read the books as a kid? They take like years.
Yeah,
they're like,
I did.
They're careers.
And they did take years.
They're enormous.
Careers.
I started reading the first book of Lord of the Rings when I was like halfway through sophomore, and I finally finished the that Bible. It wasn't called the Illuminati. It wasn't called the Iliad. What was the Silmarillion? I finished that halfway through senior year. That was like 2.5 years of having to read Lord of the Rings books to understand what the hell is happening in the Lord of the Rings universe. One of which was like a Bible describing millennia of history. Anyways, yeah, no, it's a career. Why are we talking about Lord of the Rings? Maybe we should
Let's go
to the next
topic.
Speaking of adaptations of older properties, as we go to this one.
Wait,
I wonder what places these podcasts will take us. Where will we go? How about let's go?
Let's go.
Yes. Come on.
Come on, Liam, you can do it.
Let's go to Civilization 6.
Oh my God, Liam, you were incredulous this morning.
I don't want to hear about Civ. I want to hear about
Believe it or not, neither do I, at least for right now.
Okay, fine. I've been playing Pokemon.
Yes.
Nerd.
That dumb kitty game for babies?
Yeah, that dumb kitty baby game that.
How do you feel?
Everyone seems to hate that they're review bombing it on Metacritic.
Even though everyone I know on Twitter and my fellow podcast co-host friend Liam is playing it and talking about it, I don't know if they're enjoying it.
Okay, so I don't know how to feel.
You've like been reluctant. You have fought the segue into this topic.
Because I don't know how to feel about this.
That's just gonna make it so
good. I've played 15 hours on it.
Ooh, yummy.
I got 4 gym badges.
Did you waggle the stick to catch the Pokemon?
That's a lot of waggling.
Pokemon into your balls?
Okay, let's jump into that because everyone will remember when we had Chris Pratt on, I went on for like a 15-minute rant about how bullshit the Pokemon Go inclusion of catching Pokemon was.
Mm-hmm.
And I stand by that.
Mm.
Okay, so first off, let's get that off the bat. Yes, I will admit it does seem faster than the one change I really do like is that you don't random encounter Pokemon anymore. You see them on the map and you can choose to bump into them if you want. I like that a lot. That does actually feel better. I used to think like the surprise of what Pokemon you were going to bump into was like if you were looking for a Pokemon specifically, and the like pure elation you'd get if it went diddle 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 din din, and then it's like it's the fucking Growlithe you've been looking for like 10 hours or whatever, and it pops up. But now when you're looking for a Pokemon in the same area and then all of a sudden it like jumps out of the grass, it's still the same sort of elation. You're like, oh my god, there it is, and then you like run over to it and bump into it. Yeah, I actually do like that. That's a good addition. But the Pokemon Go like way of throwing a Pokeball at Pokemon is awful. It's awful because this game is super, super relaxing. Like, it's easy. It's easier than other Pokemon games, which then you know how ridiculously easy it is. It's incredibly handholdy, but it is in a relaxing way. It's not so... I don't want to say it's as patronizing as other Pokemon games, but there's something very relaxing about it. And using one Joy-Con, because you only use one Joy-Con. You don't use two. You just use one in one hand, and you can do everything on one Joy-Con. It's like holding a TV remote.
Sounds like a Game Boy game, yeah.
But it's great. No, but you don't hold it sideways. You hold it like you would a Joy-Con in your hand. Just like a normal Joy-Con, not sideways. You only use one hand, and then you use the motion, right? And it's not so much that the Pokemon Go system is not great. It's not. Well, it's not anyway. It's not satisfying in any way, shape, or form. Even when you like get it and it says excellent throw or whatever. It's the fact that the motion controls for this game are dog shit. They don't work at all. Like, you are almost always guaranteed that your first throw, the Joy-Con won't be calibrated properly, so the first Pokeball will always, like, fly off to the side.
Oh my god.
And is wasted.
Do you have to, like, adjust to an in-game strategy of your first Pokeball always failing?
Basically, yeah. And the problem is, this game's so relaxing, so you sort of slouch back and you get, like, relaxed, and you're, like, lying back and you're just roaming through. And then every time, like, a Pokemon pops up, you have to, like, sit up and, like, position yourself in front of the TV and, like, straighten your arm, and then you have to, like, get ready to arc your throw.
Your complaints are so weird, Liam. Like, last time it was like, oh, there's so much to do in Red Dead Redemption. There's so much to do. I don't know what to do with myself, but it's so good. And then here it's just like... Oh my god, it's so comfortable. Oh,
No.
It's so relaxing, and I have to sit up to catch a Pokemon.
No. Because we're talking about like a juxtaposition of gameplay, right? In Red Dead, you're always at that intensity, right? You're always doing stuff. You're always involved, and you're in the game. Whereas like Pokemon fosters this weirdly relaxing gameplay style. It's a relaxing game. It doesn't move at a fast pace. Everyone talks kind of slow. You spend most of the time just walking and talking to people. It's very, very relaxing. But then when the gameplay happens and you bump into Pokemon, and by the way, you catch more Pokemon than you ever have in any other Pokemon game. You just keep bumping into Pokemon, keep throwing Pokeballs, jump out. And like, it's even so much built like that you get hundreds of Pokeballs thrown at you by all the NPCs. And you get these things called catch combos where the game encourages you to catch multiple of the same Pokemon for a chance at getting a better version of that Pokemon or a shiny. So you spend half your time switching between this really relaxing gameplay to having to constantly throw a Pokeball that is calibrated terribly. And then when you
don't have to use the motion controls, though.
Yes, you do. Unless you play in handheld. There is only motion controls. There's only if you want to play on the TV.
Unless you play in handheld, so all you have to do is just take
if you play in handheld, then you can. If you play in handheld,
put it in the little slidey thing and make it a controller, Liam.
No, it doesn't work.
What do you mean?
One of the Joy-Cons will be turned off. It only registers you either using
Then
one
why-
Joy-Con or the other Joy-Con.
Why does it only work in handheld mode then?
Because in handheld, it uses the gyroscopes because it knows you can't throw the Joy-Con.
What?
So when it's in handheld mode, it changes so you use the gyroscope like you would in Splatoon to aim with like with the screen, like moving the actual console to aim the reticle, and then you
Right.
press A and it throws the ball at a consistent rate, which works 100% better. But what doesn't work is when it's in the dock, it knows it's in the dock, and also the controllers, when they're next to each other, realize how close they are together, like when they're in the little, what is it, the puppy holder, what do they call
Leash.
it, the dog
Collar?
when it's in the small Switch Joy-Con holder, it looks like a little puppy. It knows how close they are together, so it knows that it's not in handheld mode. So you can't use it in any other way other than with either the Joy-Con singularly, either left or right, depending on what hand you are, or with the Pokeball Plus, which you also have to use a throwing motion for. So there is no other way to play this game other than with motion controls, which are calibrated terribly. Everyone should watch Jim Sterling's video on this, because he really goes in hard on the motion controls and explains why they're bad. Because you've got people who maybe don't have the ability to, do throwing motions or have motor functions that make that kind of thing difficult for them. And this is a game that should be really, really accessible. And there is just no other options than playing in handheld mode if you don't want to do that. And even then, in handheld mode, you have to move the screen around physically to aim the reticle to throw out the Pokemon.
I'm probably not going to get this game.
It's
Just because of that. I hate having to do that stuff.
yeah, no,
That's why
it's
I
the
never
worst
do
part
it.
of this game.
And that's why I don't like Splatoon in that way. Because
This is worse than
it's-
Splatoon, because at least with Splatoon you can use the Pro Controller and you don't have to use the gyroscopes.
Splatoon was fine.
Yeah, but Splatoon 1 had some weird sensitivity issues that it didn't feel right.
Yeah.
Unless you use.
Yeah, unless you
Yeah,
use the
it didn't
gyroscope.
have,
I agree.
Yeah.
But this is you have no other choice. You either buy the Pokeball Plus accessory, which I've heard is not great, because to press A, you have to click the actual analog stick in all the time. So imagine if you're pressing R3 to confirm everything in a game. So weird. And also you still have to do the throwing motion. And with the Joy-Cons, it is it works when you finally you've wasted 2 Pokeballs, you've calibrated it correctly by standing and sitting up properly, and then you throw in the perfect arc that it wants you to throw. It's like Wii bowling in reverse constantly. But with the handheld, the gyroscope works really well. So if you're okay with the gyroscope way, if you played Splatoon and stuff, it's fine. It works fine. But the fact that there's just no option to play this game like a normal fucking game with a Pro Controller, or even just the Joy-Cons in the holder like a normal controller, is really, really annoying. It's not good for that reason.
What about the rest of the game?
So the rest of the game is actually surprisingly good. First off, this game is gorgeous. I have not had a nostalgia hit as hard as when I stepped out into Pallet Town and saw Professor Oak in 3D in vibrant colors for the first time. It was really, really nice. It is nice. And it is a trip for the nostalgia.
Hard
if you have an
me
affinity,
to picture that.
if you have any affinity for Pokemon, especially if you're one of those who's a Gen 1er who doesn't realize that Gold and Silver are the best games in the series, but you like Gen 1, you will love it. It's gorgeous. And the Pokemon look amazing. It's so exciting, when you see them pop out in the grass. I really like that change. And I didn't think I would, but the fact that you see, I was roaming around in Viridian Forest, and like a Butterfree popped out, and he was like big, and he was like floating, and he had pollen trailing behind him, and I was like, oh shit, it's a Butterfree, and ran into him, and it was so good. And then when you start, like when it gets into the game a bit more, and you start seeing Pokemon that are a lot bigger, like Onix and stuff like that, Onix is huge, and it's really cool because when you're battling, you have like a tiny Oddish versus a giant Onix, and the camera is like panning between the two different sizes. It's really, really cool. So in that regard, it's like excellent for nostalgia. And part of the reason I think everyone's enjoying it so much, especially on Twitter, is it is really nice in that kind of way. Not in like a cheap trying to basically sell you on its history. It definitely is a game made to introduce people who got into Pokemon through Pokemon Go to play this game. It doesn't do too much to be like, haha, remember this? You loved this 20 years ago. But it has a lot of like the charm of Pokemon in it. There is a lot of charm in this game. It is gorgeous to look at. Everything is really, really nice.
That's interesting because when I first saw Let It Go, I thought it was like a spin-off game. No, that's what Liam has on the dock.
Yeah, I wrote Pokemon Let It Go.
Let It Go. Pokemon Let It Go.
Because you always have to let go of your first Pokeball because it will never land.
Let go of that nostalgia.
Oh.
I think it was marketed wrong because I thought it was a kids game. I thought it basically is a kids game.
I still think it is. Like, it's more than the other games in the series too. Like, this is like, I don't know if it's just the old man in me here, but when you go into gyms now, it won't let you even face the gym leader unless you have a type advantage over that gym leader.
No.
So when you go and face Brock for the first time, it's like, I can't let you in here unless you have this Pokemon type or this Pokemon type.
How does that gym work?
And then
they're like,
and then you go to the second gym, and it's like, you can't come into this gym unless you have Pokemon over level 12. You can't. So there is a lot of like damage control.
Yeah, the gym leaders are like,
game.
I'm not gonna let you fight me unless you're advantaged to win.
Yeah, don't you remember when you were a kid and you were like banging your head against like Onix for ages with Squirtle
and you look it up and you talk to the other kids.
No.
And
I mean Charmander, and you're like, oh, why can't I beat him?
And you figure it out, I guess, with a little
There's
more
a lot of
more
that.
work
There's a lot of
involved
like
somehow.
There's a lot of like characters asking, do you know where things are, and then we'll automatically take you there.
That sounds so
and stuff like
patronizing.
that. Like, hey, do you remember the Diglett Cave? Like, do you remember where it is? I can take you there, and they'll just like take you straight there and put you on the
type
path to
advantage
the
for the gym thing. Like, that sounds like it would make it too easy almost, like less easy to be interesting.
Yeah, no, that's exactly the point.
I don't understand. Did people have trouble before? Did kids have trouble before? Because kids these days are pretty smart. Like,
no, I don't think they
has
did.
made these kids like ridiculous.
I don't think they did. I think everyone is just. I think everyone at the Pokemon Company is assuming that they needed to dumb it down a little bit.
I hate seeing shit dumbed down for kids because the stuff that like seems so popular with kids, stuff like I don't know, Minecraft for example, like seems engineered to take advantage of like curiosity and learning, not enforcing it or like patronizing.
Yeah,
it.
this is the best way I can think about it. Is this game is very much like Pokemon Go in the sense that the emphasis of this game is to catch Pokemon. It's not to battle them. It's to catch them. It's to fill out the Pokedex. Because, you know, Pokemon Go, apart from like the gyms initially, you couldn't do any battling. It was just all about catching. It was all about going out in the world, and it was all about throwing Pokeballs and berries at Pokemon and catching them. That's what this game is all about. Apart from trainer battles, which are, as you can imagine, really easy. You get like the first 3 starters of the game within the first 6 hours. Like you get Charmander, Squirtle, and Ivysaur just by catching Pokemon, and then people just give them to you. So you cover all bases. You got a fire type, you got a water type, you got a grass type, you got an electric type. You know, you cover all bases. And then the trainers are pretty easy because your Pokemon all get experience when you catch other Pokemon. And if you're catching lots and lots of Pokemon like the game wants you to, your Pokemon become pretty high level pretty quickly.
That's almost a fundamentally different dynamic from the Game Boy games, where the contest was
I think it is.
optimizing a small team out of all the Pokemon you're capturing.
Well, it wasn't even that. It was it was made so the link cables were your key to filling up Pokedex. It was you worked as a team to find Pokemon because it was really hard and there was no information. And people worked together. Do you have this? Do you have this? I can't find this. Whereas this game, it's I've seen most outlets like IGN and Game Explain and those guys had already filled up the Pokedex before release. They got all 151 Pokemon. They were able to make videos about it because with this game, it's not too difficult.
And I'm wondering what that dopamine
fill out
hit
the Pokedex. I mean, I'm already
like.
at 75, I think.
Shit, that's as much as I had when I finished the games as a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely a lot easier to catch Pokemon in this one, especially with the new mechanic.
Yeah, the dopamine hit as a kid came from a few hours, if not days, after catching them, when you saw them defeat the Elite Four easily.
Yeah.
You remember catching Abra? In the beginning?
That guy fucking off all the time.
He kept teleporting away, and you're like, son of a bitch. And then when you finally catch it, you're like, yes.
And now it's...
Yes. A psychic Pokemon early on.
Checkbox on a table.
It is, it's kind of trophies in Smash Brothers. It's kind of why I like it. Because it is almost like you're just taking a really long walk and picking up things of Pokemon as you go along.
You're just bending down.
Your
back kind of cracks.
You're
a bit.
Oh shit! Oh my god! A 3D model of Mr. Mime. And you run into him and he's there and he's doing all his miming things. You're like, oh my god! I remember when you were a
12-year-old Pokemon trainer kid just shrugs, sighs, bends over. You hear bones cracking in their back. They get a little dirty figure from the sidewalk, crusted in dirt, and just throw it in the backpack.
So basically, Pokemon, if you like nostalgia, and no one will convince me that not seeing 3D models of the original 151 isn't cool, because it really is. It is an enjoyable experience. The game is relaxing. That's the kind of only way I can describe it. You're just taking a jaunt down memory lane almost.
Do you think kids are gonna like that?
I see why people like it.
Well, what about kids who don't get the nostalgia though?
I don't know. Are there any kids out there right now who haven't played Pokemon before, who have played Pokemon Go first?
Maybe not the Gen 1 Pokemon, but Pokemon's always been popular with kids, but this is
that's
going
what I mean.
way back.
This is kind of why I think this game's probably going to sell more to nostalgia than anything else, and it's not trying to sell to nostalgia. It definitely is trying to be an introductionary Pokemon game, which is so weird because Pokemon's always been introductionary. It's never been a wall
hardcore
children can't climb over.
Well, the thing is, look at the name. It's like a regular name.
Yeah.
Well, not a regular name. They're not using gold, silver. They're not using any of those things, which is...
It's a spinoff.
I guess, to people who don't know, they're seeing all these they don't know what that is. They don't know why they're using all those. Yeah. So
people like us don't know how to take it.
And they're saying, let's go. That's kind of the most...
So is it a portable
basic
game? Are you supposed to carry it around? You're supposed to with Pokemon,
certainly don't think so.
But...
Yeah. It was all weird. But yeah.
But, I mean, I'll finish it. And I will actually... I've never, ever completed a Pokedex before. I've come very close. But I feel like with this game... It shouldn't be that hard, so I'm kind of inspired to actually do it.
Well, after 15 hours, if you're halfway done, then you only got 15 more to go or something.
That's fine with me. But I get the fulfillment of being a Pokemon master. Okay.
As a Pokemon master, this begs I think, a core question fundamental to all Pokemon things that may never be answered, and that is, what is truly a Pokemon master? One who catches all the Pokemon, or one who trains up a specific team of Pokemon to be really good?
I don't know.
I think it's both. Both. is a Pokemon
To be a Pokemon master,
Yeah.
one must be proficient
You
in
need to
all
be
the Poke things. One must focus one's Poke Key, let go of one's Poke material possessions, and just focus on what is the Poke truth.
Poke truth. Okay.
The Poke word of the way is a mental state of peace and harmony, I guess, that you can't achieve any other way by just collecting or achieving the team. It has to be everything.
Poor Ash will never find that.
No. Dr. Oak, on the
He
other
will
hand.
always be in this endless
Professor
loop.
Oak and
Endless.
and Dr. Cedar or whoever it works. They're the real Pokemon masters all along. We've just been having the wrong priorities. We're all about fighting and violence. They just want to study.
And not going to school.
Yeah, we
either.
just want to run around in
young
the
kids
dirt.
are just not going to school. They're going out to be Pokemon
rolling
masters.
around in the grass, hoping that something will grab them.
They want to be touched. They want to be felt.
Yeah.
Wait.
I don't know. Don't know
Don't
if I
like
want to
that
go
one.
down.
They want to be the best.
So
Okay, we went deep thought into Pokemon. Okay.
well, besides Pokemon, besides playing games other people make, Liam had the unique and special opportunity of releasing a game that he made.
Oh yeah, I did do that.
How was that?
We, like, changed
how did
the
it
vibe.
feel to create?
Yeah.
I felt sick most of the weekend.
Okay.
Actually, I do want to say like a huge thank you to a lot of the dad and sons out there who, thanks to this show, was interested in playing something I made, which was lovely, and a lot of people reached out and they downloaded it and donated towards it, and also there was a lot of dad and sons out there who made videos of themselves playing my game, which is a game called Flitspire. It's a demo for a game I want to make a full version of, but making games is really hard. I released it last weekend. It's a tower climbing action platformer. Although I hate the word climbing because most of the time you spend a lot of the time flying, not climbing. But tower flying doesn't sound as cool.
Is tower falling?
Yeah, definitely not as cool as Towerfall, that's for sure. But it's a game that someone described as Downwell cross Castlevania cross Flappy Bird.
Flappy Bird.
Which I found incredibly apt.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, that's pretty much it. It's like an
it
inverse
makes
Downwell
sense.
with a Castlevania aesthetic with like a flying motion that's kind of like Flappy Bird. You tap a button to fly. But yeah, no, it went live on itch on Saturday. And I was nervous as hell because I've spent months working on this thing. I spent a lot of time in the past 2 weeks, almost to the point of no sleep, tweaking it, sending it to people who I'm very fortunate to have play it. People like Kyan, who made I Want to Be the Guy, which is a great guy to have test your difficult, challenging game, considering he made one of the hardest games out there. And a few other people. And released it, put a trailer out for it, received really well, and it reached, I think last time I checked, it was number 6 of the most popular games on itch.io,
Ooh.
which is incredible
Nice.
because there's like 150,000 games on there.
And you did the pixel art.
Yeah, I did it apart from music and the fancy key art you see in the promotional stuff. Yeah, I did everything in that game: programming, art, design, layout, animations. Yeah, everything.
I saw the monkey. The monkey was cool.
Yeah, the boss at the
it's-
end. Yeah,
Liam, you killed that pixel art, man.
Thank you.
That's really good. For
I appreciate
your
it
first
because-
try. What the hell?
yeah. I spent like maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks like studying. I don't want to say studying pixel art because it's not something you really study, but like reading about different pixel art techniques and trying to find one that suited me. And I basically like pixel art is. There's probably people who are listening to this who know a lot more about pixel art than I do. But like sticking with rules is what makes pixel art so consistent. When you see people who have very similar styles, like, Shovel Knight is very particular because Shovel Knight sticks to the NES limited palette, even though it's not like the best sprite work in the world. The reason like Shovel Knight sticks out is because of the rules it sticks to. And then there's a lot of like consistency with it, and consistency with pixel art is what makes it so good. So like the one rule I stick with was that everything I made in the game was made of 6x6 pixel blocks. So you know when you see the big thick like outlines of everything, it's made of 6x6 pixel blocks. So I tried to stick with that style as much as I could, but that made animating really hard. So I hated animating so much for this game. But I'm glad to see that people liked it. Yeah. If you want to play it, go to liamedwards.itch.io/Flitspire. FLITSPIRE.
Too much.
Yeah.
Too much. You got Flitspire. Just say Flitspire.
Flitspire. Yeah, you can Google it. Yeah. I mean, there is no other game in the world called Flitspire. You might come across a fitness program called Fitspire, which I really should have Googled prior. But no, it's called Flitspire. Flit meaning to move really fast and erratically, and spire meaning tower, because I'm that simple. Flitspire. Yeah, no, it's been crazy. Like, I've never made a game as personal as this. You know, I enjoyed making Suzuki-san, but it was like a learning experience for me. And it could have turned out better, but it was fine. But I learned so much with this game, and I spent a long time making this, and I really put as much as I possibly can into a project of my own with the limitations I have as an artist and a programmer and a designer. But to see people play, like, I spent all weekend watching people either stream it. Shout out to people who streamed it. There were a couple of people who did that. And then people who made videos. One guy, Andreas, who filmed himself with a GoPro on his VR. I don't know if he was using an Oculus or a HTC Vive or whatever, but he had a virtual desktop set up inside of his VR, and the virtual desktop was running Flitspire in his virtual headset space with the opacity like kind of low, so you could sort of semi see through the game into this VR space. And then he filmed himself doing all of this, and that was super weird to watch him play like Flitspire on what was meant to be like a 250-inch TV inside his VR headset.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of people just basically sending me feedback and stuff. The only negative feedback I got basically on this game was that it was challenging, but that's what I was going for, so I guess that's mission success. Yeah. Okay. It was really nice. So because I just want to make games, and to have that kind of validated.
I don't like the sword. The sword.
Yeah, it's weird because some people liked the short sword, and I was like talking to them while they were streaming it, and I was like, I hate the short sword, and they're like, no, the short sword's better than the crossbow, and I was like, are you mad? Are you fucking mad?
Wow.
Yeah. And then some people are like, oh, the longsword is OP, and then other people are like, the longsword sucks. The hand cannon's OP, and other people are like, the hand cannon is not great because you have to reload it. And I was like, well, I guess all the weapons are working as intended.
I'm the hand cannon guy. I really liked that.
I'm the longsword guy.
I like definitely hand cannon.
So what's some of the more memorable aspects of reception been like? Did you get any comments that stick out?
Before I released the game, I had a few people who I looked up to as game designers play it, which was a nerve-wracking experience. In fact, actually, for everyone out there, the first two people to ever play it were Matt and George. A couple of months back. The boys were there, and if you play the game, you might find that the pictures on the wall of the tower, I used like placeholder images of my closest friends. So you might see some pictures of George and Matt up in the tower. In fact, actually, like there were 3 videos where people were flying around looking for Matt. And they were like, oh, there's Matt. Like, yeah, looking for the picture of you in the tower. Even though it's random, whatever picture's chosen. So I don't know why they spent so long.
Oh, is that okay? Yeah.
Yeah, so there's like a bank of all the pictures that are pixelated, and then it cycles through them depending on whatever run it is. And yeah. I had a few people play it beforehand, and they were like, this is like really good. Like, you have a lot of core design loops in here that are really good, like the random gacha system and the fly meter design, where you fly and when you run out of meter you have to land and then you can immediately fly again. You don't have to wait for the meter to refresh. It immediately is filled and then you can fly. So having comments from them was like incredibly moving. But then to have people make videos about it was really weird. Super weird.
Wow.
Just watching people play it. For one, watching people play it on their own computers and it work was like massive relief.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Because I only tested this game on my PC and had like feedback from maybe 2 or 3 other people, and George had a bug. So I didn't have too much faith that it was going to work across most PCs. But apart from that VSync issue with you, George, where the frame rate would like spike depending on your refresh rate, nobody had too many issues, thankfully. There's like some problems sometimes with collision, but yeah. No, basically having people watch it was crazy.
You didn't release a Fallout 76, basically.
No, I feel like I released something that was a little less buggy. My game was not the buggiest game that came out last week, it seems. But yeah, no, I don't want to self-congratulate too much, but seriously, everyone, thank you if you downloaded it, if you retweeted my tweet about it or anything, because I released it in the first hour, like 2 people retweeted it, and I felt so bad. I've never felt so upset in my life. I was like trying to time it, so it was like good time Japan, it was like lunchtime UK, it was like morning America. I was like trying to nail down when to like make it go live, and for like that first hour nothing happened, like literally nothing, and I was like, well, that's it, it's over, good job guys, let's go home, let's pack up. But no, it picked up traction and a lot of people retweeted it, and then I think the trailer had over like 10,000 views on Twitter, which for me is huge.
Holy crap.
Yeah. And yeah, and then like the itch stuff started happening, like it climbed up the itch rankings. So, and that's only because people downloaded it and people shared it. So it got a lot of impressions on itch. I think it like after the weekend it had like 50,000 like impressions on itch, which is huge for a game on itch. And yeah, seriously, if you are listening and you played it, even if you didn't enjoy it, just thank you so much for playing it, because I really like making games, and this was a lot of work, and I don't think I've ever put more of my heart into anything I've ever made before. I almost feel like a kid talking about them, because it's like showing your artwork to your parents that you make at school, and you go home and you're like, I made some art today, Mom. And then you like hand it to her, and she like looks over it, and you're like,
and you see her face expression.
Yeah, and you're like, and her face is like contouring a little bit, and she's like, good job, honey, and puts it on the fridge.
Pats you on the head.
And pats you on the head, and then you're like, I did a good job today. Even though your mom's like, he tried his best. Yeah, no, seriously, thank you so much. And thank you to George and Matt, who not only tested the game, but also were excellent support throughout me making it and talking about changes to it and stuff like that. So I really appreciate it. I don't want to cry. I'm going to fucking cry on this episode, but yeah, this game, this like making this demo meant a lot to me, and to see it, you know, do well in terms of what they call social currency, where it reached a lot of people, and to watch people play it and comment on it was like an experience I've never really had before. Even when I used to watch reviews of GTA, it felt so disconnected because so many people worked on it. But literally every comment, apart from about music, was a comment on something I'd made a decision on, which I imagine, George, you sort of understand, and Matt as well. Like, when you make videos and people comment on, like, maybe, like, the way you'd written a piece, or the way you'd edited something, or the way you research something, like, the way, like, if someone comments individually, like, on that bit, you're like, oh, shit, yeah, that was on me.
Yeah,
it's very much like
as the creator, you know all the shortcuts you took, you know all the weak points. I also
absolutely.
really feel the physical illness that you're describing in anticipation of releasing something big.
Yeah, it makes you want to vomit.
I vomited on the day launching the Patreon. Like it happens. It's a real thing.
I get that. Yeah.
And you just feel so... I don't know how about you guys, but I get imposter syndrome about this a lot.
Yeah.
Massive. Like, I know I talk about game design and stuff on here all the time, but when it comes to, like, thinking I am one, it's not there for me. I feel massively like an imposter. I am not... Toby Fox, I am not Justin Marr, I am not Matt Thorson, like, not even in the same league. To me, even if I made a game that was successful as those games, it still just is, like, not something I can deal with very well. Yeah, it's weird. Being a creator of things is weird. But yeah.
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 When it's like me getting called a YouTuber, and I'm like, ooh, I don't know if I'm a YouTuber. I make videos, but, like,
I'm a video creator.
I'm a YouTuber, so I get that in a way. Even though, like, making a game is way more difficult than making a video. At least I think so,
it's anyway. Like, and it's also, like, if you care about it, like, that's how you can sort of tell that someone really cares about it, because you know that they put so much effort into it that to have people validate it feels like, I don't know, it's a sense of relief, but also a sense of, like, I care about this too much, I don't want to believe them, because I don't want it to all be taken away from me. Kind of thing. Like, if I keep on pretending I'm an imposter, maybe I'll not get it attached. So when it all comes crumbling down, I won't feel so bad in the future.
Wow, we went to a place on this podcast.
We went to a place.
And
I don't know if people are going to be interested in hearing all this.
Yeah. Just now looked at the clock. We're at like an hour 8 minutes.
Might want to trim some of that.
Yeah. I think it might also be a good time for a nice relaxing snack break.
Yeah. If you want to play the game, just go to liamedwards.itch.io/Flitspire.
Link in the description.
Play it. I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate that.
Look who's back. And this time, the two of you are partners in the latest installment of the Pokemon saga. It's Pokemon Yellow, the special Pikachu edition for Game Boy, where it's you and Pikachu catching as many as you can together. Pokemon Yellow, gotta catch 'em.
Hello, and welcome to That and Sons. I hope you had a great break. You whizzed a little bit, you know. Maybe did a little, dropped a deuce.
Gross.
Maybe while you were dropping a deuce, you typed in ridgewallets.com/DAS.
Liam is a slut. A sponsor slut.
And you got 10% off your new sexy aluminium wallet.
I'm a little bit confused, you guys.
But George, I know who won't be getting 10% off their E3 membership discount this year. Sony.
Oh my god. So
Wow.
you're talking about how they're just not doing it this year.
Yeah, they're getting like 0% off because they're just not even turning up.
Sony's not doing E3 this year. Is this
Next year.
Is this well, yeah, E3 2019. 4 to 6 months from now, depending on when they determine to do it. Is this unprecedented? Has E3 backed out of that? E3 has Sony backed out of an E3 since
no
turn of the millennium?
I don't think so.
Damn. Okay, well, it's like really the end of an era then, huh? I haven't seen a lot of speculation pointing out the fact that E3 seems to be becoming less important and that this might be the big first sign. Well, I guess the second after opening it up to the public, which is a weird way of phrasing the problem.
Cut to E3 2019, which is just an EA press conference. Bethesda talking about the next update for Fallout 76. And Xbox talking about which games have been announced for the Game Pass. And then the show ends.
Oh, I want to hear the crowd.
Wow.
The crowds are going to be just as canned as usual. I guess that leaves E3. Oh my god, I keep saying E3 in the name of like EA. That leaves EA, Bethesda, and a Microsoft show. Because Nintendo's going to be doing their Nintendo Direct. And EA technically hosts their show in Hollywood instead of the venue of E3, which is a few minutes drive away.
Well, this is the thing, right? The conferences have always been not part of E3. They are conferences that happen in the area during the week of E3. You know? They've never actually been part of the show itself. They've always been like this is what we are announcing, and some of this will be at E3 this week, coincidentally. That's why Nintendo Directs have still always felt like they're a part of E3. So This is the thing I'm kind of weirdly like, does this signal the death march of E3? Because the same amount of people are still going to go to the E3 show.
If not more, since they've opened it up. Like, E3 has mass market popularity now. It didn't before, but at the same time, it has less, I guess, gains on returns for the big corporations who make E3 happen than it did before.
But this means Sony have got to be thinking of something, right? They didn't do Paris Games Week. There's no Sony PlayStation Experience this year. Like, they've got to be thinking of doing something big.
I suspect that they have kind of blown their load on big PS4 releases for the year at this point, and they want to, I guess, bide some time for the next lineup. Because this year, as we've been saying like over and over again throughout this year, has been a like astounding year for Sony.
Yeah, but we're talking about May, June of 2019.
Mm-hmm.
We still have like games
RE2
like
will be out.
Well, The Last of Us 2.
Last of Us Part 2. There's
Tsushima, Ghost of Tsushima. Is that out before then?
Tsushima. Let me check the date on that. But I half expect that's the reason why, is that a lot of this stuff has already been shown and released. I don't think we have a solid release date on Ghost of Tsushima yet.
Is this like good news for Microsoft though? Like, did Microsoft just gotta like swing their dick around now?
I don't know, man. They're deep in the hole right now. They're really deep in the hole. Am I wrong by saying that? Someone correct me if I'm wrong.
No, Xbones are trailing behind the other two consoles this gen.
But their Game Pass subscription is up though, which is
a good deal.
It's a huge win for them because they have put they have pumped a lot of shit into that.
Yeah, because they gotta catch up.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. But I mean, is this kind of thing free
like,
publicity though? This is what I don't understand. Like, is this like giving free publicity to Microsoft if they have the only stage show? Like, a lot of people really enjoyed their stage show last year.
I'm starting to wonder if we're entering a scary new era where publicity is no longer as good a thing as it used to be, because one could theorize, one could argue that a lot of the trouble Xbone is having selling consoles this generation comes from a bad E3. When they announced that it was going to be like this online-only console where you couldn't share games, there was so much negative publicity over that, and the console has had a relatively weak time trying to get a foothold in this gen.
Ever since then. Yeah, and the PlayStation had an amazing one off the back of Sony's terrible one, after Microsoft's terrible one, that the PlayStation 4 was like super popular on arrival.
And then this year, when Sony had their E3 show earlier this year, they were shuffling people like in and out of tents to church. They
And
couldn't
people
get like the
hated it.
videos to play on time. And the games were still great. The games still sold fine, broke record numbers. I think they're realizing they don't need to spend that much money on trade shows when the marketing that sells games is really just commercials. And, well, more so word of mouth, number one, than commercials, number two. And it's not like the E3 show is going to change the quality of the games or the quality of those marketing efforts. It's supposed to be for investors and insiders that turned into an event for the fans, that turned into an event for the general public, that is now kind of sort of existing in this weird place where people feel E3 is like a necessary, fundamental part of the fun of video gaming, when E3 has... At least in my mind, I've never really seen the necessity for it. And I feel like this is further driving a nail in that coffin. And that the world's going to be fine without Sony being at E3, but
I would argue since the Nintendo Directs started, no one's really been able to match up to Nintendo's like hype that they generate.
Which is a weirdly prescient prediction from Nintendo. With regards to like things that are going to become important on the internet, Nintendo's done such a bad job of predicting, but they were bang on when they were like, okay guys, no more E3 show, we're just going to do videos for the internet, because that does the same exact thing anyway.
Do you know who did video conferences before Nintendo did Nintendo Directs?
Who?
Konami.
Really?
Yeah, Konami used to have a stage show. And then, I think it was 2009, they decided we were going to have a video press conference instead.
Well, I guess that kind of, like, colors a very, very dark attitude to all these predictions then.
Yeah. And then I think a year later, Nintendo started doing Nintendo Directs. I think, like, as soon as, like, the Konami 99 nights, 1 million nights, like the Tech Fuji conference, even though Tech Fuji is a dude, yeah, I don't think they were very well received after that.
Yeah, the wrestling one where they had a couple luchadors come on stage and just slap each other's boobs was an infamous meme moment as well. That's what happens. Maybe these companies just don't want to turn into memes.
I mean, the Directs have spawned some great memes.
But it's like, purposeful, like it's intentional, like it's dad humor. Reggie Fils-Aimé is like the master of that stuff. It's not unintentional with him.
They create like a cult of personality as well. If you think like how many more people were upset when Awada-san passed away because he was this personality in the Nintendo Directs that people had got really fond of and really used to.
Yeah, turning company executives into beloved celebrities and martyrs is probably something they really like as well, and having a controlled environment can probably control the effects of that message to a greater extent than an unpredictable stage show, as seen with Blizzard a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, which is weird because Sony have tried to do it with Shuhei Yoshida quite a bit.
To varying degrees of success, but stage shows are they ever good? I'm trying to think of an E3 stage show. I can get like the fun, kitschy funniness behind it, but never like a sense of quality. Like that video I made in 2015 of just how many goofs and bad rehearsals and mismanagement you can see going on still seems to apply. I'm
interested, like, Matt, what do you think of like all of this? Obviously, like me as part of working in the industry prior, and like George having to sort of do it for YouTube and that kind of thing. Like as someone who is like a video game, you know, it's part of like what you do every week in terms of like talking about Dad and Sons and stuff like that, and you wanting to be, you know, enjoy new video games and stuff like that. How do you generally just like get hyped for video games? Where does it come from? Because do you look forward to E3 and that kind of thing anymore?
No, I enjoy watching it because like seeing like the Twitch comments and stuff like that, and seeing what's like newly released. It's cool to see, but I don't like, if I miss it, I'm not gonna be upset.
Yeah.
You know, I will watch the trailers later. Somebody will tell me about like a cool game that was shown, and I'll watch the trailer for that. You know, and then I'll watch the super cut of like all the cringy moments because that's just fun. yeah, like that's the way I digest E3. I don't like after, like before when I was young, I was just like super into it. Like now, I don't know. It's you're showing games, and
They're
sometimes
commercials.
it's gonna be
you
sometimes
can't tell if
the
they're
games
good or
are gonna
not.
be trash, and usually the commercials are not a representation of the actual game. And I just don't. I just okay.
I've noticed
if
that
it's a CG trailer, then okay.
for me, it's really been feeling like for the past decade, the big days for game hype has shifted from reveal trailers to no. I was about to say that the big day of hype where everyone on the internet's talking about the thing seems to be more day one release. But I don't know if that's true either. Like, Battlefield 5 is about to come out, and I see less people talking about it than when
Wait, that is out, isn't it?
I think it either is just about or just now has come out, with reviews going to press. I think what I'm trying to say is it seems like there's a lot for... I would like there to be more hype and discussion on launch days than on announcement days.
Yeah.
And for me, like, when I personally, in my bubble, in my world, I'm now realizing that this might be wrong, but I see more discussion in my circle on launch days than on reveal days. But now I'm thinking back, and, like, Battlefield 5 is about to come out on November 20th. Oh, that's today! Wah! Battlefield 5 is out today, and I didn't see like a review thread up on Reddit before the podcast. I didn't see launch trailers
there
getting
is
tossed
a
around.
Review. I think there is a review thread though. It's like Fallout, it's like Fallout 76. Like that didn't have a review thread until yesterday, but
because they didn't send early copies.
Because everyone played it before.
Yeah, the beta.
It was already getting negative press. Guys, I'm gonna let you guess. Let you guess. What do you think the Metacritic score for Fallout 76 is right now?
76.
Nice guess. We joked about that last week.
It wasn't a joke. It was the real thing.
Oh yeah, it was that. Yeah, it was that website.
I'm gonna go low, like really low.
Go on,
let's go 67.
That's generous.
I like how me and Matt are like. Well, I also.
So
wanted
this will
to
give
do
you
low.
a clue. This will give you
Yeah.
a clue. Eurogamer obviously don't score anything anymore. They gave it a void.
Now what number does that represent?
Well, if you want to know,
0.
the PC version is sitting at a pretty 59.
Ooh.
The PS4 version sitting at a wholesome 46.
That's a fail, isn't it? I don't know how the grading system works, but
like, I was gonna
that's a
say
failing
like low
grade.
70s, which is still
Yeah.
low by like video game review
Game standard,
scale
but
standards.
which means like a 46 is scathing.
Yeah, when you hit the 5s, yeah, you know that the game, there's some problems with it.
Jeez.
So that's the
It's
thing
fine
is
to
like,
get like 70s. You know, like 70s is like, okay, like you might like this game. It might be a niche thing. You know, 60s, most people probably won't like it. 50s, ooh, I don't know.
That's a sign something is very wrong.
Wrong. Yeah, very wrong. And I've
Yeah.
seen like a lot of the bugs.
yeah.
I watched like a 20-minute video on the bugs, and I was just like,
God.
wow. And obviously, they're just taking all the bugs and putting it to one video.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Cherry
But a
picking.
lot of the bugs were like really bad. Like,
Something
that would affect
I watched
your
a video
gameplay.
of it too. I was like, oh my lord.
Bethesda games, as infamously buggy as they are, can at least have fun bugs like the giants in Skyrim that launch you into space.
but this is just like, this game is an online game that is a mess.
Maybe during more peaceful times, there is a real discussion to be had about whether or not bugs and glitches can become
think a lot
fun,
of-
but
Yeah, but I think a
not
lot
for
of
a
the
56
reviews,
on Metacritic.
No, but this is, I think, the thing about Fallout 76, and we're going down the Fallout 76 rabbit hole here. But
unfortunately,
the thing with Fallout 76 is a lot of reviewers were saying that not a lot of them talked about the technical problems, because I imagine it is like, you take it with a pinch of salt that you're playing a Bethesda game that's online, it's not going to work very well. But people just say it's empty. There's just nothing in there. There's no interaction. You're listening to audible.com/post-apocalyptic tapes, and that's it. Like,
that's their discount code? Is Fallout 76 a podcast?
And
I think so. That's the story.
Wait, yeah, it's a series of podcasts.
Wait, why the fuck didn't we get that contract?
Why didn't we get that joke?
I think the worst part about something like that, it said it's a copy and paste, and I saw a video showing that, and like even like the end fight was a copy and paste from Skyrim.
Yeah,
that's really that's really bad. That's really bad. And you see he like clips in all the Todd conversations like, everyone's working at
that's the exact video I watched.
Yeah, that's
I'm Todd.
E3 sales pitch.
And the fact that you can't go back and listen to the audio tapes and pause them when they get like canceled out by somebody else, like that's weird.
And GS5 thought it would be great to have that problem too.
Yeah, but that's like minute detail compared to like the over glaring. It's sad because what's even sadder?
That's the whole point of the quest, though. That's the whole point of the quest.
It's true, but what's even sadder is Bethesda will have known
less than a minute. It's like multiple minutes.
Oh, that's sad. The problem, what's even sadder is Bethesda will have known that this was like the limitations they had. This is the state that the game will have been in for months.
This is
that's sad.
A situation that posits a few interesting things. First up, question. Is there actually a better day for driving up hype and marketing pressure for a game than the review day? I guess there is the answer to that question, but nowadays it seems like the most exciting days for me are like remember the day Undertale came out? No one knew what Undertale is, even the reviews. And then all of a sudden a bunch of 10 out of 10 reviews pop up and from places that from critics that have like weird stingy tastes like Jim Sterling. And
yeah, like I was just gonna
say, I gotta pay attention to this. I have to know what this product is.
Jim has contributed to the cult status of like quite a few games. Like he gave Deadly Premonition a 10 out of 10, and then all of a sudden everyone was playing Deadly Premonition. And he gave Undertale a 10 out of 10, and then all of a sudden everyone was playing Undertale.
Surprise tins are probably a more honest and also better way to market a game than trailers. But then again, you can't get those with a quickly phoned in cheap-ass Fallout spinoff designed to just keep people busy and funded until the next real project at Bethesda, which is also a good segue into another fun news story that has materialized this week. And that is that during this first week of Fallout 76, some players are role-playing as NPCs to fill in a gap of the game's world building. Not a lot of documentation on this happening, but they have videos circulating now by YouTuber Mini A True Nerd is putting out some videos of himself and other players kind of role-playing this welcoming shtick where they help other people out, give them items that they have gathered over the beta to catch themselves up with, because the game does not have NPCs and characters, and
so literally nobody can help anyone play the game unless you find people
thinking about it. Yeah. sorry, Liam.
It's all right. Go ahead.
No, I'm thinking about it. Like the no NPCs and then the copy and pasting, they were super lazy with this game.
Wow, Matt! What a revelation you're having.
Makes so much more sense now, doesn't it? I didn't even think about it until just now. Like, oh, that's why they don't have NPCs. It's not because they were doing a style.
It does make me think back to like every documentary I've ever watched about Bethesda, where the biggest complaint Bethesda ever has is about audio recording. Like, they always complain that their hardest part of development with their games is always the fact that they have, like, hundreds of thousands of lines of dialogue. And, like, with Oblivion, they use the same, like, 5 actors. Yeah, but with Skyrim,
sometimes slip in bad takes. There is a dark elf in Oblivion who is like, "Oh, did you hear about the recent news story regarding a community robbery? Wait a second, let me try that one again. Oh, did you hear about the latest news story involving a robbery nearby?"
Yeah, there's a couple of those, yeah.
It's smart thinking. You can't have any bad takes if there's no takes.
I wish you could hear me tapping my forehead.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Everyone's got the GIF in their head right now.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Can't fuck up bad. You can't fuck up, make any memes with arrows in the knee if you ain't got any dialogue.
For a little while, some players who are trying to get into it and some who have managed to get into it are filling that hole by role playing as characters who have voices. So that
Wait. It's so bad that there's actually people who had to role play as NPCs.
Well, they don't have to. This is a nebulous internet phenomenon of a community.
That is quite cute. They're just like, well, there's no one to talk to. I'm going to role play as an NPC, and he just stands there all day for a whole session just talking to people who come in.
He's like welcoming people to his little base where he's got extra supplies. It is cute.
Guys, did you see that video? Did you see that video of the guy who was trying to return? Yeah.
He went nuts.
And he just like lost his shit.
I don't know if it was Fallout. I think it was just like a joke.
No, it was Fallout, I think. Like,
oh, was it?
Straight up. He wanted, like, after all of the bad negative things, I think he wanted to change his pre-order, and he'd already put his cash down for it or something.
No, I think he bought it. And he
returned
it. He bought it, he returned it, and what happens at GameStop is if you rip open the plastic, that's it. It's yours.
Oh, you have to get, like, the trade-in price for it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Well, that's if you sweet-talk them. Because usually you just can't return them at all.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. I don't know if they changed their policy, but, yeah, you can't return them.
Yeah, so he destroyed that store.
And all right, if for people who haven't watched the video, like he destroyed the store. Like he took the displays and shoved them on the floor, like everywhere.
He fucking destroyed
It's not an easy
everything.
like, oh, I'm gonna pick up the stuff from the floor and it's gonna be done. No, he destroyed multiple displays before he left. It was bad.
Wow. What a douchebag.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah.
Why do you get that angry? Like, yeah, I can understand. Like, sometimes stores, there's some ridiculous stuff that happened. That's not quite ridiculous, but some ridiculous stuff happened. But you never get to that point where you have to, like, these people are doing their jobs. What are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing? He's not attacking you as a company. That's his rules. That he can't do it.
It was a great visual metaphor for angry gamers on the internet.
Yeah.
But this happened in real life.
Yeah,
in
that's
someone's place of business.
Sometimes it does.
Yeah, the guy didn't care.
Sometimes it does.
Wow. That's weird because I was gonna try to transition us from people acting uncharacteristically friendly on the internet in Fallout to people trying to act uncharacteristically friendly on the internet in Battlefield, and I guess in both cases it goes about as well as you'd expect. So the same week, people, a very, very small amount of some people sent around the YouTube channel, were pretending to be NPCs to help people get into Fallout. There was a informal ceasefire truce event held in Battlefield 1. They do this, the community for Verdun does this every now and then too. Well, they'll just like choose not to fight on the anniversaries of the Armistice Day or the Christmas truce in actual World War I history. And I think this year's was the 100-year anniversary, 2018. So there was about I don't know if I can find an easy figure out how long the ceasefire in the game lasted over across how many servers, but there's a hilarious video of people just running around for about 1 minute, spamming the crouch button and the prone button and begging each other not to actually play the game and kill each other. But, well... While there's a sudden hard cut, and then a plane just dives down into the crowd and starts shooting everyone, and then the camera point, the player we're watching it from, all of a sudden gets stabbed in the back. And there's this fun little thread on Reddit where the guy who stabbed the cameraman in the back was like, oh, sorry, I just didn't know what was going on and didn't want my team to keep dying. I thought the truce... Like, no one knew what was going on and how the rules were gonna work, and that's pretty much it. Battlefield 1 attempted to get its community to have a historical Armistice Day in reference of the real Armistice Day. And the video footage of their attempt is pretty great. Pretty great.
Yeah.
So
Man.
people are shit.
Video games.
People have turned E3 stage shows that get people hyped into video games into incredibly rehearsed, dishonest marketing campaigns that don't get people hyped for video games. People have turned disappointment over their video games into property destruction over video game stores. People have turned fun video game community events into community events that have a hard time making themselves happen and work and be organized. But
To be fair, that Fallout news is rather cute. I'm happy
cute.
there are people out there doing that kind of shit.
And I guess it all depends on however long they can get hooked by that role playing. I mean, it's a role playing game, right?
Well, why are you in jail, man? I destroyed a GameStop.
They'd be like, dude, that's so bullshit. And he's like, it was over Fallout 76. Whoa, say no more, dude. Say no more. I heard that got a 46 on Metacritic. Say no more.
Yeah. During my computer time in jail, I looked up Fallout 76. That's of anything else.
You like sit down, you get processed into jail, you get like strip searched, you get paperwork, and you get your clothes, and you
have
sit
to bend
down.
over and cough. Remember that. I will always remember that.
You get your physical exam.
Yep. Always.
You sit down in the cell, and the other guy is just like, yeah, game journalists, bullshit, right?
If there's any reason to lose weight, is to lose weight so you can fit in an orange jumpsuit. Because they didn't have my size. Oh my god, that was so
what?
bad.
Wait, what? I tuned out for a second, and then I was like, "What is going on?"
Do you want to tell this story? I don't know if people know.
No. I've told this story before. No,
Matt, you got arrested?
Yeah, I've been arrested before.
Was it for stealing a PlayStation 4?
No, it was driving while black. That's a joke. That's a joke, guys. That's a joke. I should have known my rights. It was me.
I do really want to know why you got arrested, though.
As I have been told, it was a classic example of driving while black in rural Georgia.
Yeah, South Georgia is not so nice. You know, you gotta be careful around that part. Like right before you get to Tallahassee.
Fuck that bull.
Racism exists.
Do we have to take an anger break? All right, we're back with some listener questions submitted by fans. If you would like to send us a question, send your email to dadandsonspodcast@gmail.com. That's DADANDSONSPODAC.
DODANDSONSPODCAST@gmail.com.
Oh my
See,
god.
the thing is, there's like some words for abbreviation. I mean, it's Dad and Sons without the and sign. You got to specify. You got to specify that it's there's more than one Sons.
But don't forget, when you go to ridgewallet.com, it's not ridgewallet.com/Dad and Sons. It's ridgewallet.com/DAS.
Yeah. Just in case they didn't hear you the first time.
Matt, you want to move out your apartment, right? Shut up, dude.
Okay. I got Jason C. Gonna calm us all down and ask, hey fellas, I'm wondering if you guys have any thoughts on the position of narrative fiction writers in game development, as in a dedicated writing room or writers as a part of the fundamental game development process. As an aspiring writer, I believe that video games hold some of the greatest potential to explore new ideas and concepts, but as far as I can tell, studios don't usually have dedicated writing staff. Some AAA studios might, but a lot of what I see in smaller up-and-coming studios have game developers doubling as writing staff. Do you guys believe video games could benefit from a more dedicated writing staff? Do you believe there is / should be a way for aspiring writers to spread into the industry without adopting game development skills?
Yeah, that would be cool. The thing is, the writers would have to kind of understand how video games work, though.
Yeah.
Like,
you're crafting
because it's not
gameplay.
the same thing at all. I remember this conversation with Guild Wars 2 and how like writing was put in to the game. Like having conversations was not the same as like writing a book.
Yeah. I read, this is really interesting this comes up because today I was reading through a book called The Theory of Game Design Fun, which is a really excellent game design book written by Raf Kotzman, maybe? I forget his name. But he's a writer by trade, but he worked in the games industry for 20 years. And even he writes that video game stories should not exist because stories are the wrapping around video games that is like a distraction for your brain, because video game core elements don't change depending on the story of video games. So this is a fundamental problem within the industry, even for writers, because when you dedicate everything to being writing, you get games like David Cage's games. And there is no game, or there is very little of the game, because they don't merge
Are
together.
you saying that there should be no story, or
I
story
think
should be the same?
I think
because
there has
Undertale would be nothing without the story.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. But then a lot of people would say Undertale doesn't have that much of a game to it. It would be a lot of people's arguments.
And I don't care about it. The story is the reason why I played that game twice.
Yeah, exactly. This is my point. This is why this question is so hard to answer, because up and coming studios are going to be small indie studios that have very limited staff. If you're hiring someone to be a writer whose specific job is to be a writer, well, then you have to realize the kind of limitations you're going to have with the games that you want to make. You're not going to be able to make the hardcore fucking Super Meat Boy platformer you want to make when the writer is like, hey, we need to have a cutscene here, we need to be able to have environmental storytelling and to explain the relationship between Bandage Girl and Meat Boy and like, it's really hard. Like, I don't think anyone has ever got this right.
But I actually know some trivia in this world as it's developed over the past decade that might be able to shed some light on how it's been working, because since the beginning, in the early days, like this has always been regarded as a fundamental problems with game development. But back in like 2012, I was to get the channel going, I like blitzed through a ton of writing and GDC game developer talks, and that was a huge topic of discussion back then. Around the time games like Far Cry 3 and Spec Ops: The Line were coming out, that were marketing themselves as like self-aware critiques of game tropes, they started to be written by dedicated full-time writer staff. The AAA game development budgets, one of the reasons why they've actually ballooned so much is mostly bad management and inflated marketing budgets, but also because full-time dedicated writers are more of a thing now, whereas they weren't before. And you can really tell when you go to those years, 2011 to 2013, I want to say, is where that dividing line starts to appear. If you go play even really story-driven, story-dedicated games from before made by like Kojima Studios. I was playing Zone of the Enders 1, and there's a line, you can tell writers are separated from the rest of the staff and not held on for the whole project. They were either given duties to do like world building, flavor text, and scene scripting either before or at the end of the development process. In Zone of the Enders, there's a line where a robot says, "We need a fully operational and functional enemy robot to hijack," and the character's like, "I think I saw one of those earlier." You can tell the line doesn't specify where it is or what it's going to look like, and it turns out that what you need to find is this sparking wrecked robot that doesn't look at all like what the characters were describing. And there's like that disconnect is something that seems to be happening a lot less, that also seems to be, the lessening of that disconnect seems to be driving a lot of the appreciation you see for games that have managed it better since those years. It started to become more of a full-time thing and a topic discussed by a lot of writing and GDC talks. And that's when games like Last of Us and BioShock Infinite started cropping up. Games that merged the processes of writing and world building and storytelling with the gameplay, with the mysteries the player's thinking through mechanically, becoming part of the same story they're uncovering. That's been really cool to watch. I've seen that movement like stumble and tumble and also accomplish really great things. Writers like Rihanna Pratchett, I would say, is the big example. She did not get a full-time job as a full-time game writer until 2012. Before then, she was writing novels. People like that were doing contract work on games. Nowadays, they're being hired full-time, but only by AAA games that can afford it. And so you do see that disconnect more often in indie games, and less that try to use their tokens to tell stories, and less often in AAA games that have like a pre-written story from beginning to end that hopefully had a writer involved with the team throughout that process who can correct their lines as the designers and the artists need to change things for whatever weird technical reason that could be divorced from a reason a writer needs to change their script.
Yeah.
Okay, phew.
It really depends, ultimately, on the kind of game you're going to make.
Yeah.
If you're Ubisoft and you need a shit ton of dialogue writers to flesh out your world, then you're going to hire a bunch of writers to do that. But if you're like a small indie studio who you're not Toby Fox, who's pretty much just a genius at most things he does, or maybe like the guys who wrote Celeste, who wrote a very personal story that they understood a lot of the themes for, and they had some outside help from people like Nick Sutner and stuff like that. It's difficult. I feel like
I want to clarify. Rihanna Pratchett actually was starting work around like 2007, 2008, but I was a few years off. But still, like late 2000s is when it starts to become a little greener, at least in the AAA world for video game writing.
When MGS4 hit and video games became this giant spectacle that can have long ass cutscenes and fleshed out story, it happened.
Anyways, yeah, cool.
Now I know what the bingo game long pauses are. And now I know. It's happened about 3 times. Happened about 3 times, and George doesn't edit it out.
Bingo!
I look for the gaps. I make them better. Anyways, Crazy Jerry Mouse is a person's name who sent in a question. I've been thinking about the position video games will be in when talking about the importance and recognition in future arts appreciation classes, specifically for music. My question to all of you is, which composers do you think will be studied and perhaps even be considered influential in the years to come?
Well, we already know who they are. Koji Kondo.
I was... you were hearing me typing out my guesses.
Uematsu.
Yep.
Perhaps Harry Gregson Williams? Is that his name?
In the email, the guy was specifying not to use movie composers like Harry Gregson Williams.
He wrote
name
the
dropped
MGS
himself.
theme. Like
the iconic MGS. Well, actually, there was a court settlement over whether or not court settlement. They didn't try actually. There was some suspicion that DJ Tappy, who did the soundtrack for MGS1, plagiarized the theme for
Marty O'Donnell.
Got changed for MGS4 from that game onwards. They.
I'm glad he's doing it himself now. Marty O'Donnell.
Ooh, yeah, Marty O'Donnell's a good one. Who got treated poorly by the industry, but contributed greatly to it regardless.
Oh, Grant Kirkhope.
You think people will remember Jake Kaufman?
And David Wise. Yeah, Jake Kaufman too, perhaps. but definitely Grant Kirkhope, David Wise, and yeah, I'd say Jake is one of the modern composers that people would know.
But in terms of like textbooks teaching the kids, I cannot imagine
There'd be
Koji
two.
Kondo not showing up.
Yeah, it would be two.
If not
Koji
game
Kondo,
music, then music
and
in general.
It'd be Uematsu.
And in terms of getting like chiptunes going off the ground from day one, Koji Kondo's instrumental.
Oh, and then Yoko Shimomura would probably
what did he do?
She do. She did most of the Street Fighter themes. She did Ken's theme and Guile's theme.
Always appropriate.
I'm also sure she did the Mega Man themes as well. So, and also she did some of the Final Fantasy themes. She did a lot, actually, Yoko Shimomura.
It's probably going to be studied and interpreted and argued over how in the dark they were working with regards to what the player's input would have on the music systems. And so like I think the idea of Yoshi's music having an extra percussion layer in SNES Mario World was Koji Kondo's feature. Like he created a kind of musical engineering system where getting on top of and off Yoshi would add instruments. And in Mario games especially, you see like some really, really brilliant subtleties to the player's like button prompts and moves hitting like an instrument into the soundscape of the game itself.
Yeah, there are a few, but I mean, it's basically always gonna come down to Koji Kondo and Nobuo Uematsu.
Last question. Remium wants to ask, what game do you guys think it is crazy for that people didn't remember and critically acclaim it about? And anything that we really loved that were confused didn't get more wider recognition?
Does Ori and the Blind Forest match that?
I would think so. It got some rewards, but it's not
definitely Ori and the Blind
showing
Forest.
up again. They did a sequel that seems a little downplayed in terms of the hype.
Yeah,
Ori
and the Blind Forest and Soma.
Ooh,
that's a good
I remember
one.
Soma.
Yeah, I liked Soma quite a lot. I don't usually like horror games, but that tickled me.
Liam, what you got?
Can't think. I'm trying to think what is like. I kind of want to say the WarioWare games in general. Like, I love those games so much, and I don't think they've ever reached the echelons of which they should have. I feel like people enjoy them, but they don't get the because it is just a bunch of mini games. They don't get quite the critical acclaim that they get for
feel
being genius in design. They're awesome.
Kind of spin-offy by design.
But they're genius. Like the amount of art styles they incorporate.
See, the thing is,
the different gameplay mechanics and everything that those games incorporate. Like WarioWare DIY, you got to make your own games.
I've played Wario throughout the years, but I've never like seriously sat down with one and like been able to have enough of a long enough session to analyze the genius of its game
WarioWare
design.
Chronicles, was it Chronicles for the Wii? That was amazing.
I'm gonna toss out Pillars of Eternity. I think it's a little underappreciated for how well that game managed to.
There's a game that did virally well because of someone's video game review.
Maybe. I'm a little disappointed with how well people don't kind of respect it for evoking the kind of future for crowdfunding games people really wanted to see back in those days. Like they made a very ambitious game of a very unpopular niche genre at the time that hit a level of production values that was as good, if not better, than the stuff from the late 90s they were inspired by. They did it in about 2.5 years. It came up right on time. It absolutely positively blew my expectations off, and it just kind of got like 8s. It was talked about for a little while. They made a sequel that did kind of just 8s. It was talked about for a little while.
Yeah. Oh, I can get on board with that. I feel like you're underselling it a little bit more than it got. I feel like Pillars was a...
Yeah, it definitely hit some high notes. Definitely.
I recognized, other than just your review, there was people talking about it at the time.
Just feels weird that when I was going through it, it felt like I was playing a revolution.
We don't live in a B era of video games anymore. Nobody makes B titles. It's all AAA or it's all indie games. So it's weird to think of games that are underappreciated. Nothing really flies under the radar, and you're like, oh my god, you missed this? You need to play this, kind of thing. Like Wolfenstein is like the only thing I really can think of that is like a B game, like a...
Oh... In fact, Wolfenstein 3D, the original, might actually be a good answer to his question. Like, the first-person shooter, as we know it today, is something that, like, the gamers know about, but normal people think it's Doom.
That's true.
Yeah.
When they're pretty similar. I mean, not in the minutiae, but in terms of, like, if you look at a screenshot of Wolfenstein and a screenshot of Doom, it's a raster-drawn 2.5 3D sprite shooter with a mess of pixels as your gun on the bottom. The little face with the bloody nose.
Alien Infestation on the DS. That was a great game.
Elite Beat Agents should be remembered as a
everyone played that.
Pinnacle fucking example of human engineering. Instead, it's a cult classic.
But everyone knows that game, though.
Yeah, at least everyone knows about it.
Alien Infestation was a great, like, Contra-esque... Not Contra, but, like... It was just fucking good. It was made by Way Forward. It was really good. You should play it.
Way Forward has not made that
much of a,
Way
Forward,
like, bad
yeah,
game.
But they would be like...
about going forward.
Oh.
I would love to go start my day at the gym because I didn't wake up early this morning.
I would also like to go to bed.
Are we
spent?
I think we're spent. I think we're out. We are milked dry. Yeah, we still got one more thing to tackle.
Come on, guys, we need to speed this up.
Wait, but that's something separate. That's something separate from the end.
Yeah. We're gonna do that at the end of the show, which is after the end of the show that the listeners are gonna think is the end of the show.
Okay, well, let's do the end of the show then. Ha!